KILR KILR Games.
Hello gamers, simmers, and pilots. I am the KILR Gamer and welcome to the World Tour with Flight Simulator 2 for the Commodore Amiga computer. This was the second flight simulator that I got involved with in my lifetime, and I'm just bringing back some of those old memories and sharing them with you. And today happens to be a very special day when it comes to this world tour, in that we are leaving the Chicago area and entering the world of scenery disks. So that is a big thing, and what we have to do is we have to load it up. So here's an example of one of the scenery disks that you can get, and it comes on your typical Amiga floppy, blue disk, 3.5. So you have to load that up, and then bring in and then go to the airport that you want to go at. In this case, we're already at the airport, and the scenery disk that we're going to includes the area that we're already at. It just expands it. But just so you know, this comes with these little packages. It'll say, it says hold on, I'm trying to get it to where you can see it here. The 6800 series, right there. That's the processor. But yeah, it comes with little tabs, and then it's got a list of the VORs and the airports and stuff like that. Not really approach charts or anything. Actually, I think there are some approach charts in here. Oh yeah, it's got maps. So, like here are the maps that it includes. This is a different scenery disk, by the way, but yeah. Important, your Unity or warranty or registration. Fill that out now and mail. Don't delay. I think in this case it might have been delayed a little too much. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to load up that scenery disk, and we have to do that by pressing E. Now, since we're on the emulator, I have to back out into the emulator, put the disk in, and then come through and do what we need to do. All right. Okay, so I've got the disk in the drive, and then we should just be able to hit E. Okay, and so here we are. This is the scenery disk that's loaded up. And we'll just go and click on our lights here. Engine was already started. That's okay. So now that we have the scenery disk loaded, and it's tricky at best, but sometimes it freezes your computer or emulator, and sometimes it works just fine. So now that we got that together, let us talk about where we're going to fly. Okay, so while the sound goes out on... Okay, so as you all know, here is the original Chicago area chart for Flight Simulator 2. The Amiga and the Commodore 64 are pretty much one in the same. Now when we switch over to the scenery disk number 9, it expands to this. So our original area was, let's see, right about here. Covered this area right here. And so now the scenery disk expands it the rest of the way. And so what we're going to do is right down here, this is where we're at Champaign, Willard. And we're going to be flying right over here to Greater Peoria. So I'll go ahead and zoom in here. That way you can see this a little better. Okay. So here we are, and this is where we're going. So we're going to be coming close to Bloomington, but we'll get there by tuning in or leaving our nav here, this VOR at 300, and we'll set this one up for same thing, 300, just to get us in the general direction, and we should get there to Greater Peoria. So let's go ahead and we'll set up our radios, Champaign and Peoria. We'll set nav 1 to be, if I can get it to, there we go, 5.1 and 2 goes. Okay, so we're not close enough for this to pop up yet. Oh, I can see this is going to get annoying. Talia, go out there. Holy hell. Alright. A little bit more trickier trying to get the nav radio set up for some reason. But we're all set to go, so let's go ahead and now, this here was not here in the distance before. I don't remember seeing that. So it looks like the scenery disk adds some stuff. Oh my God. I can't tell if we're in the taxiway or not. Whoops. I'm having a hard time trying to find out where all the runways and stuff are at. It's like I see them. I'm just trying to get to them. Oh, that's right. I wanted to show you guys this. There's a design of some sort on this blue building. I thought this was interesting when I had when I was checking to see if the scenery disk was working or not. I am not quite sure what that is. Air Center. Something Air Center. Avis? Avis Star? Avis Star. Air Center. Okay, cool. Now let's find a runway. I think that's one of them up here somewhere. In case you haven't noticed, down below I put in the picture for the scenery disk below the Amiga box. And I did some photoshopping on it to clean it up because they don't look that good anymore. Man, at this point, I'm just going to get onto the runway and turn around is what I'm going to do. Alright, well let's go ahead and take off here, since it took us forever to try to find the runway. Now, I'd like to do is fly over in this direction. I'm going to keep our landing gear down for the moment, so that way we're not flying too high. Because I know the minute that I pull it up, so I figured we'd take a look and see what in the world this is out here. I don't remember if I saw this on the Commodore 64 version. Like if it actually had buildings down here or not. Maybe this was just kind of like an upgraded Amiga thing, that they added a few extra things. There's some green over here. I'm curious what this blue and white thing is right here. I I don't think that's another airport, but we'll see here. Only on this series would we be excited by a few lines and blops on the screen there. It's like, oh, what is this? What do we have? I don't know. I have no idea what that is. He's looking straight down. I don't know, just some buildings or something. Well, there's something. Oh, whatever it was, we just missed our chance of seeing it. We flew right over it, or that was the other building. I guess that's supposed to be this thing here is supposed to be a semi, or not a semi, a high-rise of some sort. I don't know. So I don't know what that is. Maybe what I'll do is I'll, in between episodes, I'll slew in over there and find out what it is. This down here looks like a freeway system, because it looks like ramps to a off and on a freeway. And based on the heading that we want to take, I'm going to say that this road here is probably going to lead us out to Peoria. I'm just trying to catch our needle. So that's why I'm headed at this radius, or vector, radial, whatever. Oh. Yep, we can bring our gear up. Okay, it looks like I've been able to get this to tune in, although we don't have DME, so that's not good. We'll have to use another VOR to determine if this doesn't come up as far as where we're at in relation to the airport. Tell you, flying with this scenery disk is a lot more clunkier than what I remember. I mean, even with the Commodore 64, it seemed a little bit more smoother. This just seems clunky. I was wondering if that was going to move. Yep, it looks like I was right. This is definitely going to be our road. Trying to see if I can get us to level out here. Meanwhile, let's see what other radio we can use here. Maybe we could use the Joliet or the Bradford one. I'm not sure. I think Bradford might be too far away. We could use Bloomington. You guys are thinking, man, what are you talking about? I'm still going up. What's up with that? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show you the map screen. Okay, so we're basically flying in this direction, and if I use like the Joliet here, and maybe a, what is it, a radial of, that's 1821, what's this? All this stuff is in the way here. 24. If we do 24, that should give us an intersection point, I guess maybe somewhere around here, and that will let us know that we're maybe roughly how far we are, or maybe we should do something that puts us around here. If I can figure out what radio that is. 27, 2625. I think that's 25. So if we do a 250 radio here for Joliet and keep going, when they cross, we should get an idea that we're getting close to the greater Peoria. I don't know if we're going to see this river or not. Probably not. Alright, so let's change this to Joliet, which is 112.3. Like I said, I don't know if these are going to tune in or not. I'm still going higher. What's up with that? There we go. We got our DME now. Wow, we got 79 miles to go. Trying to get straight and level flight on this. It's always fun. We have a nice blue line here for the horizon, even though technically we probably shouldn't be able to see it. All right, well, let's read what's inside this thing. We got time. Okay, introduction. SubLogic Scenery Disks are an enhancement designed to expand the potential flying environment of Flight Simulator 2 and other SubLogic flight simulation programs. You must have Flight Simulator 2, Microsoft Flight Simulator, or JET in order to use a Scenery Disk. JET was a separate program that SubLogic had that allowed you to fly a fighter jet, but you would still be able to use the Scenery Disks with it, which was kind of cool. 12 separate Scenery Disks covering the entire continental United States were developed. Maybe they were developed, they weren't all released, that's for sure. Using NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration sectional aeronautical charts and airport facility directories. These charts divide the United States into 37 different sectionals. Each sectional includes all of the airfields and radio navigation aids in the area covered by the chart. Sectional charts also show topographical information and obstacles that are important to aviators. Scenery disk databases were digitized from these NOAA sectionals. Scenery disks include enough radio navigation aids and visual scenery, such as the road that you're seeing there on the screen, that yellow jagged lightning bolt type of thing, to allow the user to navigate anywhere in the sectional areas covered. A typical scenery disk, SD, covers 3 aeronautical sectionals and includes approximately 100 airports and 100 radio nav aids. Some scenery disks may have more airports and radio nav aids since some areas of the country are more densely populated than others. Any of these scenery disks are ideal for simulating cross-country flights, which is what we're doing. Except we're doing a worldwide flight, but we can't do it completely with the Amiga and with the Commodore 64, because SubLogic didn't release it to cover the world. They didn't even release the whole thing for the United States. It's like 3 sections are missing, which is what we get to right now. SubLogic Scenery Disks are grouped by aeronautical sectionals. Each scenery disk covers a geographical region of the United States, generally comprised of 3 sectionals. And so here is the map. Okay. Now, and then it gives you a list of everything that's covered in these areas. I know you can't really read that, it's all blurry. But section 1 is right here where my finger's pointing at. Okay? And then I can't do this backwards. So right here is where we're at. Disk number 9. So here is the sectionals. Okay, so on the west side for Disk 1, you've got Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and Brownsville. Disk 2 is Phoenix, Albuquerque, El Paso. Disk 3, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Las Vegas. And there are other airports besides those. Those are just the main areas. 4 is Klamath Falls, Seattle, Great Falls. 5 is Salt Lake City, Cheyenne, and Denver. And 6 is Omaha, Wichita, and Kansas City. All of those were released for the Commodore 64. I think they may have been released for the PC also, but not the Amiga. Then we get to the east side. Disk 7 is Washington, Charlotte, Jacksonville, and Miami. 8 is Memphis, Atlanta, and New Orleans. Never released. Never released. Not for the Commodore 64 and not for the Amiga. I don't even think the PC had it. Disk 9, Chicago, St. Louis, Cincinnati. That's the one that we're in. Number 10, Billings, Twin Cities, and Green Bay. Never released. Not for the Commodore 64 or the Amiga. Disk 11, Lake Huron and Detroit. Lake 12, this is where it gets interesting. Halifax, Montreal, New York. This was released for the Amiga. Can't find it anywhere for the Commodore 64. But I have seen it released for the PC also. Go figure. You'd be thinking, how come that one's not released for the Commodore 64? It's a major area. But I've never been able to find it. And there's even a wiki site that has like photo images of the floppy disk labels. They don't have anything listed for disk 12 because they can't find it. I don't think it was ever released. So then we've got reading a sectional directory, which is this stuff here. You'll kind of see some of the nav aids and stuff. You know, it's got a picture of the airport right there, which is just kind of lines. But so these sectional directories give you like the page number, sectional name, airport name, north coordinate, east coordinate, altitude in feet, runway designator, etc., etc. Using a scenery disk for Flight Simulator. If you're on the Atari ST, you load Flight Simulator 2 in the usual way. When the program has finished loading, remove the Flight Simulator 2 disk and insert the appropriate scenery disk. Press the E key to log into the scenery disk. Then you pull down the nav menu as described in your operating manual, select position set, and then enter the north and east coordinates. Set your altitude to 0, and it will place you at the lowest altitude available, so that way you don't fall out of the sky or something. The Amiga is the same way. They're the same instructions. Macintosh, you load Flight Simulator as usual. When the program is finished loading, hold down the Command and Shift keys and press the 1 key to eject the Flight Simulator disk, and then insert the appropriate scenery disk. Press the E key to log in the scenery disk, and then put in your coordinates. When you find yourself at the airport you've selected, it may be a good idea to save your flight simulation as described in the operating manual. This way, if you crash, you'll be returned to the selected airport. Otherwise, you'll be returned to a preset location in the default USA database. Crossing a sectional boundary. When you fly over a sectional boundary, one of two things will occur. If the neighboring sectional is also included on your scenery disk, that sectional will load and you will have to switch to the appropriate new map and directory provided. If the neighboring sectional is not available on your disk, a common default USA database will load. That default database will not have airports. It'll just be basically to terrain, some like major interstates and stuff like that is all that is. Important, if you want to change scenery disks or go back to the scenery on the Flight Simulator 2 disk. Oh, it's loading something. You must log in the new disk by pressing E. If you do not log in the new disk, you will get the new scenery. You will not get the new scenery, and you will risk causing a disk load error. So you can't just like, all right, I've got one loaded up here. You know, I'll put the floppy disk in before. No, it doesn't work that way. You basically you're going to fly as far as you can. You'll put in the new disk and then log it in with the E button, and then go from there. And these could not be put on a hard drive, from what I remember. Now, if there's a way I can get this onto a hard drive and have it work, that would be great. I'll look into that. It might make things a little bit smoother instead of us having to sit there and switch disks and all that other crap. All right, Jet users. Scenery disks are compatible with SubLogic Jet. Follow the instructions in your Jet manual for loading a scenery disk into the Jet program. Conclusion. We intend to periodically update and improve our scenery disks to include more airports, radio aids, and scenery details as recommended by users. Too bad that never happened. If you know of any prominent scenery details, including airports, that should be included in future versions of these scenery disks, please drop us a line and include the required information on a separate sheet of paper. Paper. Remember that? Paper. So we can store it in our files. Here's what we need to know. Buildings, objects, name, city and state, latitude, longitude, and dimensions. Picture, if possible. If you're unable to determine the latitude and longitude for the object in question, Google it. No, it does not say Google. Please provide a description of where the object can be located on a map. Pictures and postcards are our best source of information when digitizing scenery details, and aerial views are especially useful. All customer correspondence is read and answered when appropriate, and please remember to include any scenery suggestions or information on a separate page of your letter. I have a suggestion. Release the areas that were never released. I know, I'm talking to a brick wall. If we don't get it for the Amiga, that's fine. I wanted to get the whole continental United States for the Commodore 64. Unfortunately, it's not out. Maybe someone can hack it or something, so that way we can not hack it, but do a homebrew scenery disk thing to load in the stuff that that was never done. I don't know. That'd be nice. Let's see, and then you have the introduction to the scenery disk. And it gives you some, like for example, this is for scenery disk number 7. So it says, see the important government buildings and monuments in Washington, D.C. The Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Monument, the Capitol Building, White House, Pentagon, and more. Buildings are only visible below 2,500 feet. Set your coordinates to take off from Washington National Airport and head north. And then they've got one here for Jacksonville. Jacksonville is beautiful at twilight, with St. John's River meandering through the city and around several transmitter towers. Gives you the coordinates. Take off at Craig Municipal Airport. Visit NASA's facilities at Cape Canaveral. See a space shuttle on the launch pad. Won't see that anymore. The Vehicle Assembly Building, shuttle landing strip, and a row of rocket gantry towers. Disregard FAA regulations and test your flight skills by weaving through the gantries as if they were pylons. Don't do this at home, folks. Gives you the coordinates. Take out from Cape Canaveral skid pad and fly north. Miami. Miami has an impressive skyline and 2 large international airports. Give you the coordinates. Take off from Miami International. Follow Highway 1 south across causeways and islands all the way to Key West. Gives you the coordinates. Take off from Homestead General Airport and head southwest to Highway 1. Next, put those northern U.S. midwinter blues in the ejection seat and take a trip to the sunny Bahamas. And we'll give you the coordinates. Take off from Freeport International. The improved radar view on the scenery disk will help you find your way home in slew mode if you accidentally fling yourself over the edge of the world. And then it gives you a chance to work with nav radios. If you haven't learned how to use your radio aids to navigate, now's the time. Start at Miami International. Make sure you've got a full load of fuel and take off. And then it gives you some instructions and kind of like a little tutorial thing to kind of follow. So this is not tuned in yet. Really? So this road right here, that looks like the one that's going out to Peoria. I figure we'll keep our altitude around 4,000. $45 miles to go. All right. Let's see here. Let's see what I got in the mail, because I got something in the mail here. What did I do with the scissors? I don't know. That's a good question. What did you do with the scissors? I don't know, but I'm going to rip this open anyway. Alright. can't wait to check this out. I got this for Flight Simulator 2004. This is Mega City, USA 2005, and this is covering the Phoenix area. Now, what I've noticed about these Mega City and Mega USA disc for the 2004 is it's got the photorealistic scenery, plus it's got actual buildings and stuff on there, so it doesn't look flat. Whereas the photo scenery, the Mega Scenery X, is just flat for Flight Simulator 10. Because I had thought about seriously getting into the Mega Sceneries for Flight Simulator 10, and Delaware was free, so I checked it out, and it's like everything was erased. It was like all the trees, buildings, everything that was already there was gone, and it was just a flat world. And I was like, man, this is totally not doing it for me. So I was trying to decide if I wanted to do photoreal or if I wanted to do Orbix. Well, I definitely didn't do the photoreal, so I went with Orbix. So I updated FSX with Orbix with the land class and the vectors and all that other stuff. And X-Plane has already got the photo textures with the ortho photos and then the overlays. But Flight Simulator 2004, see, 2002 and 2004 look almost alike, just like 2004 and FSX look almost alike. So with that in mind, I wanted to do something with Flight Simulator 2004 to kind of give it its own uniqueness, so that way it just doesn't look like 2002. And so I started collecting these mega sceneries and mega cities for Flight Simulator 2004. They don't have full coverage for every state, but there are going to be some major areas that will have coverage. And I think that'll help give us a little something different for Flight Simulator 2004. Because for 2002, I think I'm just going with all, for right now, I think I'm just going to go with all default stuff on that. And that and FS9 look relatively close as it is. So yeah, so that's what I got there. Let's not lose our vector here. What's your vector, Victor? Wow, so what do we talk about? Got about 35 miles left until we get to the airport. Hopefully we won't crash. Now our time is a little out of sync with the other simulators, so on our next flight I'll adjust it so that way we're close to a similar time on what we are on the other ones. Just a big, exciting line. Just one big line out there. But this is all the information you need to do a visual flight. Follow the line and see where it takes you. There we go. It's like you have to tune this thing, like untune it and then tune it back in order to get it to recognize or something. But there we go. So we're locked in here. We're set up to that. When we start seeing this radio start moving, this needle, plus we got our DME, but we should know that we're on course. So we set our little intersection point. Man, so what else do we talk about here? Okay, so I was talking about Flight Simulator 2004. Well, here's something else that had come in too, and that is, and I didn't even realize it was in a big box, but right here, the Mega Scenery. This is Volume 2, which covers New York and surrounding areas. So, in this, got a few things here. Okay, so in this Mega Scenery series, we've got Volume 1, which is Southern California. Then you've got 2, which is New York City and surrounding areas. 3 is Northern California. And then you've got 4, which is the Pacific Northwest. And I couldn't believe I got this. This is Volume 5, brand new. Brand spanking new, directly from the company. I only got it for $1. It's like a hidden page or something, but that's all I paid was $1 plus $3 for shipping. Costed more to ship it than it did to buy it. So you've got those 5 volumes, basically. I have not been able. I haven't seen if they released anything else beyond those 5. Now, they do have the mega cities, right? So they've got, I showed you Phoenix. They have San Francisco and Denver and Atlanta. I don't think there's anything else besides that. I haven't, if there is, I haven't come across it yet. Now, also, I've got a few other things that I've come across that I'll be using for my world tour with Flight Simulator 2004. I found this, which is British airports. This can be used in Flight Simulator 2002 and 2004. Like I said, I think I'll use default for 2002, and then 2004 will have something else that will kind of push it ahead. And then I've got this FS Scene, which covers Europe and Africa. Not sure how much of Europe it covers, but this has got some looks like photorealistic in there too. So yeah, tons of fun stuff planned. Will I get to the scenery disc tomorrow? No. I'm building up my collection now, so that way I've got all this when we get to those areas to fly. And yes, unless I lose a limb or something, I intend to stick with this and do this world tour, because this is something that I've been wanting to do. I've done it a little bit with Flight Simulator 5 and 98 and FS9 2004 to some extent, but not in the way that I'm doing it this time around. This time around, we are going all throughout the United States. We're going to be going through the different countries. Oh yeah. This is going to be a long but entertaining series, I hope. And I don't want to do it on just one simulator. I want to be able to experience this on all the different simulators. Definitely looking forward to doing it on FSX and X-Plane, but as we go, we'll take our time to review stuff that has come out, or things that I happen to get. There's not really going to be too much to really talk about when it comes to the Commodore 64 and the Amiga versions. So if you want to see some more material, you'll want to check out the other simulators versions of these same flights. I've included the Amiga in here because, you know, like I said, it was my second flight simulator, and it was for my very first personal computer. Our Commodore 64 was a family computer. Boom! That looks like the airport. So, you know, I've included the Amiga version, and it's going to have the least amount of coverage out of all the simulators that we're flying. But it has a special place in my heart just because it was for my first personal computer, and I had the scenery discs on that one too. So we will duplicate what we can with the Commodore 64 version, and then we'll just have gaps in the coverage during the rest of it. Although, interesting enough, like I said, Scenery Disk 12 is on the Amiga and it's not on the Commodore 64, so that'll be weird because we'll have something on the Amiga that the Commodore 64 didn't have. Okay, it's hard to tell exactly. The VOR is situated a little bit further past, not too much past, but let's see, Joliet 27, 26. Let's set this to 26. What I've done is I've checked the map, and when this needle starts getting closer, we should... Oh, wow. Maybe we're getting a little bit closer than I had thought. Now's a good time to start lining up, I guess. Let's remember to bring our landing gear down. Making sure there's no other airports out here. This should be the only one. Now, I'm not the greatest when it comes to lining up with runways in these old versions. Put my landing gear down. So our speed is at 80. I guess maybe we could bring our flaps down a little bit. I just want to be careful because this one tends to stall easier. Okay, the altitude here is going to be 659. It seems like we're on a good glide slope here. Here it comes. Whew, okay. We safely landed. I think this is a taxiway. I think there is a fueling thing right over here, a fuel box. Is this as real as it gets? We have a bar of soap right here that we're parking next to. I remember when I was playing these, and when they had actually put the box next to the fuel, I'm like, oh wow, there's a building now. I don't have to just, may have to drive over the F, but yeah, at least now there's an easier way to see it. Oh, the days of simplicity. All right, so we are here at Greater Peoria. A little bit longer of a flight than planned, but I think this particular one is going to be a bit longer since we're journeying into the scenery disks. But anyway, thanks a lot for tuning in, and be sure to watch this same flight on the other simulators. And I hope to see you next time on our next leg of our world tour on the Amiga. Thanks. We'll see you then. Be safe. If you thought this flight was interesting, then you might want to check it out on these other flight simulators that you see on your screen. It's just a fun way to relive old memories and see how things changed over the years. Be sure to subscribe to be notified of any new videos, and I'll see you on the next flight.